What if one of the most powerful brands in the world started with a lie that could have collapsed in seconds? Long before Nike became a $200 billion empire, before the swoosh meant greatness, before "Just Do It" echoed across stadiums and screens, there was just a young man named Phil Knight who didn't have a master plan. He had uncertainty. In the 1960s, running shoes were dominated by brands like Adidas, and they were expensive, out of reach for many athletes. Phil saw something others didn't: a gap, not just in price, but in possibility. What if high-quality running shoes could be made more affordable? That simple question turned into a risky decision. With no real company, no experience in manufacturing, and no safety net, Phil flew to Japan. Sitting in a meeting with executives from Onitsuka Tiger, he was asked a simple question: "Who do you represent?" In that moment, he made a decision that would change everything. He said he represented a company called Blue Ribbon Sports. The only problem? It didn't exist. Not yet. But somehow, against all odds, they believed him. He walked out of that room with a distribution deal, turning a lie into the foundation of a future empire. Back in the United States, Phil partnered with his former track coach, Bill Bowerman, a man obsessed with innovation and performance. Their early days were far from glamorous. There were no offices, no big teams, no investors lining up. Just car trunks, track meets, and long days of uncertainty. Phil would drive around selling shoes directly to athletes, often out of the back of his car, while Bowerman experimented constantly, trying to redesign running shoes from the ground up. In one of the most iconic moments in product innovation, Bowerman poured rubber into a waffle iron in his kitchen, attempting to create a sole that offered better grip and lighter weight. It sounded crazy, but it worked. That waffle sole would become one of the defining features of early Nike shoes, proving that innovation doesn't come from perfect labs. It comes from obsession. As demand slowly grew, so did the pressure. Blue Ribbon Sports was still dependent on its Japanese supplier, and that dependence was risky. Phil knew that if they wanted real control, they had to build something of their own. So in the early 1970s, he made one of the most terrifying decisions of his life. He cut ties with Onitsuka Tiger and decided to create a brand from scratch. That decision could have destroyed everything. No supplier, no guaranteed inventory, and very little money. But it also meant freedom. They named the new brand Nike, inspired by the Greek goddess of victory. For the logo, they hired a design student and paid her just $35 to create what would become one of the most recognizable symbols in history: the swoosh. At first, Phil didn't even like it. But he needed something, and time was running out. The early years of Nike were a constant battle for survival. Growth was happening, but so were financial problems. Cash flow was tight, banks didn't trust them, and at one point, the company was on the verge of collapse. Phil later described those years as living on the edge. Every day felt like it could be the last. But what kept them alive wasn't just selling shoes. It was belief. They weren't just building a product, they were building a mindset. And that mindset would soon change everything. In 1984, Nike made a decision that most companies would have been too afraid to take. They bet big on a young, unproven basketball player named Michael Jordan. At the time, Jordan was just a rookie, and Nike wasn't even the top choice for athletes. Competitors like Adidas and Converse were more established in basketball. But Nike saw something deeper. Instead of just signing him to wear their shoes, they built an entire brand around him. The result was Air Jordan, a product that wasn't just footwear, but a statement. When the NBA banned the shoes for not following uniform rules, it could have been a disaster. Instead, Nike turned it into marketing gold. They paid the fines and leaned into the controversy, turning rebellion into desirability. People didn't just want the shoes, they wanted what they represented. From that moment, Nike stopped being just a company that sold athletic gear. It became a cultural force. With campaigns centered around ambition, struggle, and self-belief, Nike connected with people on a deeper level. The launch of Just Do It wasn't just a slogan, it was a philosophy. It spoke to athletes, dreamers, and everyday people pushing their limits. Nike wasn't selling shoes anymore. They were selling identity.